How do you set healthy boundaries in life and know what a healthy boundary even is? I think a lot of people today, don't recognize what a healthy boundary is in life. And so they set unhealthy ones. And then there's a lot of people, I think, that don't even really think about it. And people just live in this constant cycle of chaos or whatever it is that's happening within their lives. And it just kind of keeps rolling around and things just kind of keep going as they go. And so, again, I'm not an expert in this. I'm not saying I'm a professional. But I have learned a little bit about setting healthy boundaries, especially in workplace situations where, I, about 20 years ago, burnt out. I had to learn how to start saying no, how to not take on extra projects. This person went off on mat leave, or this person's off, or this person's left. And I would just be given more and more tasks or asked to help in other areas. And I would take those things on and take on more workload. And then I had to start learning how to say no to some really good things, like maybe volunteer work, or I love rescuing animals. I can rescue every animal in the world. Okay. But how do I learn to let some of that go? Because you can do a lot of really good things, but if you don't have healthy boundaries, you will burn yourself out. And other people will take advantage of you, and it'll be at your cost and your family's cost and your relationships' cost, nobody else's but your own. And I'm just speaking today from my heart and from experience. It was just kind of on my heart to share this. And so I just want to talk about learning healthy boundaries. And so in my personal life, I had to learn that even with some of my family dynamics. I lived in a family. My family had, some of that triangulation that went on. There was, a lot of, good guy, bad guy, the mediator, all of this. And when I started to recognize those cycles more and more, I started to learn to break those cycles. I started to learn to set up healthy boundaries within my family system, which also helped me with my friendships, which helped me in other things, like starting to realize, unhealthy things within my workplace of unrealistic demands, or being able to say, hey, this isn't a realistic expectation of people. And those were stressful, especially at work, and stressful in personal relationships, because there was the stress of staying in it and breaking boundaries. And then there was the stress of putting healthy boundaries into place and pushing past that. And that was a whole different realm and a whole different place. And so I would say some people, what I noticed, I have a friend who was becoming like that, and she realized, I'm going to set up boundaries. But her boundaries became so harsh and so rigid that she basically chased her family away, because she was trying to protect herself, trying to protect her feelings. And there is something for some people where they do need to protect themselves at times, yes. But you don't want to be so rigid that you push people away, but you also need to be able to explain why I'm setting this boundary, why it's a healthy boundary, and ease into that uncomfort until it becomes comfortable. And that's going to be hard. So let me give an example of some healthy boundaries. Say you're in a family structure where you have siblings, and you're always talking bad about your spouses or about your parents, or you have this back and forth relationship going on between your parents and your spouse, or you're maybe talking to your spouse about, your parents. I've seen this happen in other family systems. That's not good for you. That's not healthy for you. You're just going to create a lot of extra tension within it. Or maybe you have parents that are always angry at their other sibling, or talking down to the other sibling, but it's always to you. That's not healthy either. You need to set up healthy boundaries. That is your sibling, right? And so you need to set up healthy boundaries of not engaging in those sort of conversations, because they're not good for you. They're not good for your relationship with your sibling. They're not good for your relationship with your parents. And I'm not talking about having genuine, real, open, candid conversations about maybe something that's happening. I'm talking about when there's gossip, or there's bad mouthing, or where there's backbiting, that sort of things, or where they're mad at you and they're always coming to you, like a triangulation situation. Those are where you set healthy boundaries. Or say you have I think a lot of parents struggle with always giving their kids money, and then their kids can't manage money or they have bad money habits. You have to learn to say no so that your child learns to stand on their own 2 feet. Like, that is a healthy boundary that you need to set. Or you're at work and somebody's always putting extra work on you or dumping work on you or asking you to go above and beyond all the time because you can. And yes, you can, and you can pull out the stops. But eventually you just have to say, no, I can't. And you need your time back. And you need to do your job, and you need realistic expectations. And again, that person might be upset with you, or your boss might be upset with you. It's okay to say no. I've had times in my life in work where I've said even, hey, this isn't a realistic expectation from HR for what they're asking maybe managers to do when I was a district sales manager. The time restraint that you've given them isn't right, or you've asked this to be done in a certain amount of time and it's not correct, or this isn't realistic for the season that we're in, right? Or whatever it is. Maybe I was asked to take on more workload or more stores, and I just had to say, no, I can't. I have to set that boundary. I can't travel more. I need to travel less, or I need to, have more time at home, whatever it is. And those are hard things to say. They're hard things to do. They're also hard if you're trying to build your career and get ahead in life, because you could think, oh, okay, if I say no, then I'm not going to build my career. I remember I had somebody not too long ago say to me that was younger, I'm on salary, but I always have to work overtime, and I say yes to everything, especially because I'm new, I'm out of school. This is what I need to do in order to get ahead. And I'm like, well, that mentality is probably going to you're going to end up probably with burnout in like 5 years, because you say yes to every project. You never say no. You are willing to jump to the pump day and night, evenings, weekends, this, and this, and that will become a habit and a lifestyle. And you haven't learned to set healthy boundaries within the workplace. So those are just a few ideas for you about setting healthy boundaries. I think some people really struggle with relationship boundaries. I could probably do a whole entire series on how to fight fair in your marriage or your relationship. Actually, that's a good one. I should probably do one on that. How to set up healthy boundaries within your marriage or your relationship. And those ones are tougher. That's probably a whole nother video that I'll do. But I just want to encourage you, first of all, look at where you're struggling. Do you have boundaries? Are your boundaries being pushed past? If they are, ask yourself, why? Why is it hard for me to set boundaries and have boundaries? Why is it hard for me to say no? Why is it hard for me to not cave in and set these boundaries and walk them out? Those are good questions. And only you can answer those, because there could be a lot of reasons. Maybe you don't have confidence. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's just wanting to be liked. Maybe it's just, giving in and going with the flow. Maybe it's lack of self-respect. There's a lot of reasons why that could be. And so I would say, be curious about that. Ask yourself some deep questions. Explore that. Find out why, right? For me, I did it probably because it was easy. Probably because, when I think of at work, I could do it. So I jumped to the pump and did it at my own cost, or taking on too much in volunteer work or whatever. For me, I loved it. So I just did it and couldn't say no. That's a whole nother situation where you have to learn healthy boundaries for yourself, because what's your need to be needed? And that's it. That's an interesting concept, right? Do I have a need to be needed? Do I like crisis? Do I like emergencies? Those would be deep questions to ask yourself. Do I have to have crisis going on around me to feel normal? So those are just some things I want to leave with you, but I do encourage you to look at those, ask yourself some deeper questions. Think about, do I have healthy boundaries in life? What do those boundaries look like? How can I set boundaries to become healthier? Because I'm all about designing your life so that you're healthy, so that you're living the life that you want to be. Where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? What kind of person do you want to be? What does your future self look like? All right. I'll just leave you with those random thoughts. So if you like, please like and subscribe. Write me a comment below. Tell me what maybe some boundaries are that you're struggling with. All right. Take care. Have a great day. Stay healthy and design your life your way.